Good morning, folks. Praying all is well. That noise that you hear in the background, that hum, that's a heater. My brother's a little cold, so I put the heater in the hallway so it could go into his room. Though he has one, but if he turns it up, it'll blow the power. So, but anyway, again, praying all is well for everyone. Hanging out with mom today. She's in the living room, kind of taking a look at her show at this time, Despierta America, which is 75% commercials. So she'll watch some of it, nap off and whatnot. What I really want to get on here and speak of is the last, I'm going to say 10 days or so. Some things have transpired in my life that has made me take a good look at things. And I got a new perspective on certain aspects of life and people. At my age now, 55, having been around the block a couple of times or a few times, you could spot things from a mile away. God says that there isn't anything new under the sun. And through time, when you look at your own decisions in life and your own experiences, and you look around and there's others that you've seen them throughout their life, you start to pick up on things. And sometimes what you pick up is good, sometimes it's bad. You start to realize things when you get older and you see people going through stuff. You start to realize that maybe what's coming out of their mouth, the reasoning behind it, or excuses, whatever you may want to call it, it's just that. You have people complaining about, I guess, where they are in life, and they shed blame on others, but when you look at their life and you think back, you realize in your life there was nobody that was keeping you from anything that you wanted to do, even if it was knowingly a negative decision that you were making. No one to stop them. No one. Even maybe at an age where they should have still been stopped. They couldn't be stopped. They made those decisions on their own. Then years later, they want to look back and blame people. They want to tag it with a label. I got this issue, I suffer from that issue. Well, there comes a time as an adult where you have to take responsibility. Understand that those are issues that you might have. But you have to understand that. So when you make a decision, you're aware this decision might be not the best one for me because I'm looking at it from a bad stance. Going in there with the prejudices of whatever issue this person thinks that they have or does have. Right? If I go into a situation, right, a relationship, knowing, hey, I got certain issues in my life that I'm bringing into this relationship. I have to keep an eye on that. Whenever I start feeling a certain way, I have to pause and think, is this coming from those issues that I have that this person has nothing to do with? And check them. I'm going to give you a prime example, yo. My mom and I. I'm 55, she's 85. I've had issues with my mom throughout time. So much so that my mom, years ago, out of nowhere approached me and said to me, Raul, if there's a problem between you and I that you want to talk about, that's fine. But I want you to know I never meant to cause you any harm or anything like that. I felt so bad hearing my mom say that to me that I just looked and said, no, Mom, there's nothing wrong. Crushed me to have my mom saying that to me. Never forgot it. Anyway, I had this thing with my mom that she stopped buying me a coat like when I was 9 or 10. That stuck in my head years as an adult, years. And I had said it a couple of times, and my sisters heard it in one. Actually, my sister made a comment about it just the other day, about 2 weeks ago. All right? And my cousin Billy, while we were in Tampa a couple of months back, he made a joke. It's crazy the way things work. He said, yeah, I remember going to South Second and he was talking to me, and you having that fake the leather coat on, the pleather coat. And I laughed. And that night, like I normally do and have a tendency to do throughout my whole life, I was the type of person, I will have a conversation with you, and at night, in bed, or I will play that conversation back in my head. For some reason, I've always done that. That's why I could remember conversations, darn near word for word, that happened years ago. And people be like, you remember all that? That's because at night I play conversations back to see if maybe I missed something the person said. Maybe I said something wrong. I just play them back, even normal conversations. And Billy saying that, it made me realize, wait a second. And the more I thought about it, I realized that wasn't the last time she brought me a coat. In all those years, right, things were happening, I would get angry. And it was rooted in that. Well, that's a part of it. But my mom, here, right now, there's times that in her forgetfulness, I get angry, right? And I also know, hey, dude, she can't help that. And I question myself. Is that because of why you believed for so many years that you're feeling the way you're feeling right now? I ask myself that. And those are just ways that if you get into a relationship and you have issues, all right, that you could somewhat combat that. Let me check on my mom, because I don't hear the TV snapping. Yeah. So, those issues, they could be kind of checked. Don't go your whole life making excuses and you're pinning it on that or this. It's just nuts. Like, when is it, okay, I know I have these issues, right? I'm going to keep an eye on them so it doesn't affect me. But like I said, folks come up with these things, all right? But when you look at their life, you realize every decision you made, nobody stopped you from making them. So what are we angry about exactly? You know, folks, don't get me wrong. There are kids out there, there are adults that really, really went through it. I'm going to give you this one, and it's a crazy example. Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone is currently incarcerated in the Florida penal system. Sarah Boone got incarcerated in the year 2000 for a body. Right? Sarah Boone, white lady, was with a Puerto Rican, God bless him, his family, named George Torres. Orlando, Florida area. Something with a suitcase, he got in it. Oh boy, didn't make it out. Sarah Boone, her grandparents and Pam, her grandparents anyway, came from like the highlight. They're the people that you read about in the back of the paper. Miss So-and-so is getting engaged to so-and-so. Miss So-and-so from attended this college and is in this organization. Those types of people. That was the background of Sarah Boone's family. George Torres family. Puerto Ricans came by all, just as to where they were at that moment in time. It looks like they came from Puerto Rico to Philadelphia. As opposed to us, we went from Puerto Rico to New York. At least that was the main place that we were going. And other Puerto Ricans ended up in Philadelphia. But Sarah Boone, somehow, some way, then she married this guy. That's where the name Boone comes from, whatever. Good job. Anyway, she had a regular life. She had a baby, and her life turned around. Flipped up. She started hanging out. Now, she was always a drinker. But now, she can't take being a mom. She still wants to party, goes to clubs and all that. Sarah Boone, in her 20s, all this, she was already in her 40s when George died. She got life. But I'm going to touch on that in a second. Sarah Boone, in her 20s, by her early 20s, she had lost her grandparents, her mom. She lost her mom and dad. I think she was living with her grandmother. Then her grandmother passed. And then, right around that time, she married. She lost 3 people. That is devastating. 3. I guess that's where you might get separation disorder. 3, not 1, 3. Right? Sarah Boone, very smart individual. That's why I guess I'm, what do they call that? Like the cynic or a cynic. Smart people don't impress me. Okay? When you show me a smart kid, I'm like, well, good for them. It doesn't impress me. I've seen so many. People called me smart. It just doesn't impress me. I'm like, okay, Ann. Right. So, Sarah Boone gave her life away in the courtroom. When she bodied George, they offered her 15 years, right? If she had gone in there and said, listen, this was horrible. We were drinking. He got in the suitcase. Yeah, I said some things mean, but by then I was completely out of it. I fell asleep. When I first heard about the case, I said, you know what? I believe that. I said, I could see that. From a drinker, or used to be a drinker, I could see that. I said, I could see that happen. Not Sarah Boone. See, because to take that charge would have mean to accept, yeah, I was responsible for his death. She didn't want no part to do with that. None. Right? From the 15 years, she turned it down. Lost. A lot of people were thinking 25 years. Right? Instead, she acted up a fool in court. She called out the judge, the victim's family, in front of everybody. I promise you, I watched that live on TV. When she opened up her mouth and started talking about the victim's family, I was like, oh, you're so done. I remember the judge, when they came back and he was going to sentence her, he just got up there and said, Sarah Boone, you're found guilty. Life. That was it. That was it. Normally, they get into a little bit something about the case. Nope. Straight to the point. Life, out of here. Gave her life in the courtroom. I could attribute that to things that happened in her past. As an adult, because again, she suffered 3, which is major. But as an adult, we have to come to understand death happens to everybody. It could happen at any time. That is part of life. As an adult, your brain should take over and understand that person dying, they didn't mean to leave me behind. They had no control over it. I know I'm making it sound a lot simpler than it is, I'm sure. But there are times that people have to be held to account. And they cannot continue to be coming up with all these excuses and make mistake after mistake. Because then they just won't get it. That's an easy way out. An easy way out. Anyway, guys, God bless. You guys take care of each other and be safe.